And they say that you can be anti-Zionist or anti-Israeli policies, but that doesn't make you anti-Semitic, right? They always say that.
Correct.
Yeah. Then why do people become anti-Semitic based on what's going on in Israel?
They can cry. I can cry. We all can cry. If we're not crying, something is wrong.
Israel has a right to exist, a right to defend itself. We have members in this body that do not believe that.
All right, so 19 days since the terrorist attacks in Israel on October the 7th, and college campuses back here at home have turned into protest grounds, putting pressure on President Biden to condemn anti-Semitism.
Yeah, our next guest and 2024 presidential hopeful is accusing the Biden administration of lacking clarity when it comes to calling out anti-Semitism as we see it today, and vowing as president to change the definition of the word to include anti-Zionism.
For more, let's welcome in former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and South Carolina Governor, also a 2024 presidential candidate, Nikki Haley. Ambassador, it's great to have you on this morning. It's so nice to be with you in person. Can you tell us how you plan to achieve that, to change the definition of anti-Semitism?
Well, actually, it was the definition under the Holocaust resolution. Basically, what it was supposed to say was anti-Semitism includes anti-Zionism, which basically means that you agree that Israel does have the right to exist. Biden's administration stripped that out. What we're saying is let's put it back in. We do think Israel has the right to exist. We do need to make sure we fight hate in every place we see it. We do need to make sure on these college campuses that we hold these universities accountable. They get the right to freedom of speech. We want that for our students, but that doesn't mean they get the right to freedom of hate. And what we're seeing on college campuses is they are not being held accountable. And if they're going to do this, if they're not going to acknowledge the hate that's on their campuses, I think their tax-exempt status needs to be revoked.
Interesting.
You're joining us today on a morning that's very heavy for dozens of families in Maine. What are your plans for gun control if you were to be elected president?
This is an issue that continues to plague us. Every few weeks, we have the same thing. Yeah. At some point, America has to acknowledge the cancer that is mental health. 1 in 3 Americans suffers from mental health. But if they are treated, they can live a perfectly normal life. The problem is we don't have enough therapists. We don't have enough mental health treatment centers. If you don't get your treatment, you end up falling into addiction. We don't have enough addiction centers. And if you happen to be lucky enough to get one of those 3, insurance doesn't cover it. We have got to acknowledge it for the crisis that it is. The other side of it is you look at this as an Army reservist.
Right.
I'll be interested to know if he's a veteran, because right now 1 in 3 veterans suffers from PTSD or thoughts of suicide.
I can tell you, Ambassador, so he's a former firearms instructor, and the reporting that we have this morning is that he spent 2 weeks in a mental health facility over the summer. So to me, this is not one of these mass shootings, while tragic, and it happened overnight, so we're still continuing to learn more. This is, hey, there was a massive red flag that was raised over the summer, and somebody missed something.
Well, and look at the fact that 80% of our mass shooters suffer from some sort of mental health issue. 70% of them are suicidal. So how much longer? You know, everybody's going to want to talk about taking away a gun. That's the easy way out, and it's not the long-term solution. Let's do the hard work. Until you deal with mental health, until you deal with the fact that we have more young kids suffering from anxiety, stress, and depression, we are going to continue to see these shootings no matter what. And not only that, let's take it a step further. When we have crime on our streets, when we have an open border, when we have sanctuary cities, the last thing we're going to do is tell law-abiding citizens that they can't protect themselves. Look, this shooter's out there now. Every family is probably wishing they had something that could protect themselves should he come into their home.
Ambassador,
Absolutely.
We're 19 days now removed from October the 7th. Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he will delay a ground invasion. Do you think that he should move forward with a ground invasion of Gaza?
I think Israel should do whatever they need to. I think they need to tune out the noise.
Specifically to a ground invasion?
I think they need to do a ground invasion. I think they need to eliminate Hamas. We should do 3 things. 1, we should give Israel whatever they need, whenever they need it, no questions asked. 2, we should eliminate Hamas. And 3, we should do whatever it takes to bring our hostages home.
do you still support $60 billion in Ukraine aid as part of this $105 billion spending bill that the president is trying to push through?
I don't know that I trust the spending bill because I don't know what all's in it. What I will tell you is I don't think we should ever give cash to Ukraine. We should give them equipment and ammunition. But there's going to be a conversation now where people say, should we do Ukraine or should we do Israel? Understand, it is important that we do both. And the reason is this is a bigger picture. There's an unholy alliance between China and Russia, who've named themselves unlimited partners, and Iran. China is importing more oil from Iran and getting billions of dollars at spreading terrorism. Russia's getting their drones and missiles from Iran. When you look at Ukraine, there's no one that wants us to help the Ukrainians more than the Taiwanese. Why? Because if Ukraine wins, China won't go into Taiwan. There's no one that wants the Israelis to get support more than the Ukrainians, because they know that if we help Israel, we're also helping them. The worst signal we could send to the world is to say, we're going to drop Ukraine and now move on to Israel. Because guess what? Then eventually we're going to drop Israel too. We already accepted defeat in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
We can't go and have something like that happen in Ukraine. And when people say, oh, but you can't afford it, if we supported Ukraine and Israel, that's less than 20% of Biden's green subsidy bill that he passed. This is about priorities. This is about pro-American, freedom-loving democracies. And we should never be so arrogant to think America doesn't need friends. On September 12th, we needed friends. We need to stop acting like it's September 10th.
And sadly, it feels like September 10th right now. Just about 20 seconds. And I've got this question, and I've asked every candidate that's come in here this same question. We saw what happened on October the 7th. How concerned are you about Joe Biden and his ability to meet this challenge? And if World War III does start and he gets that call at 3 a.m., his ability to handle the issues properly?
When people ask me what keeps me up at night, I always say between today and Election Day, because our enemies know this is the weakest we've ever been. They see the southern border that's open. They see the fact that we don't have a president that's taking care of what we need to. I mean, look in Iraq and Syria right now. Our military men and women, I'm the wife of a combat veteran. My husband's deployed. The fact that strikes are hitting military bases and we're not doing anything about it. The fact that Biden approved a visa for the Iranian foreign minister to come to New York today, and we're allowing that to happen.
Would you meet with
It's
President Xi,
lunacy.
by the way?
Would
Gavin
I meet
Newsom's
with
there.
him?
Would you meet with him in person if you were president?
I wouldn't be talking about climate change, I can tell you that
There you
much.
go.
Okay. Ambassador Nikki Haley, thanks so much for being with us
Thanks
today.
so much.
We appreciate you joining us. Please come back and see us again when you're in town.
Will do. Great to see you.
You too.